guys, this is Sunny with Sunny Healing Intuitions. This is my Healing the Mindset podcast. So, thank you so much for coming along on my journey of enlightenment through spiritual awakening, trauma, healing, and more. There's a little glare on my glasses. I need to figure that out. Either that or stop wearing them. But I need my screen here just to get the podcast started. But thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you coming here and just following along on my journey. I feel like my soul's purpose is to share my story and let it reach others who need it. We all need some guidance every now and then, and sometimes it starts with a simple story that you can relate with that opens up that channel. So that's what I'm here for. So I will be discussing my path into the dark night of the soul, stories of my past and childhood trauma, spiritual awakening, the energy surrounding the podcast date, and spiritual enlightenment through a card pull and some tips. So it'll be a mix of everything all together. So first I would like to introduce myself and what I do. I am a spiritual being in human form, as we all are. And so I'm just here to transmute my personal pain and trauma into power and love. The power to do things like this. You know, it's scary, it's new, it's uncomfortable, but I'm excited. So my soul's purpose is to share my story and how I found my inner light so that I can shine brightly for others to find their way to their own inner light. The mission for us here on earth is to love and be radically authentic to who we truly are. That's it. That's really it. I mean, it's that simple, you know. Sometimes it's hard to get there, and sometimes it's hard to understand what our soul purpose and our journey is, but it's really just about being ourselves and loving each other and loving ourselves. So love is the vibe and the frequency we want to live on, and I'm here to help lead the way. Be it through my story, a simple reading, or a powerful healing session. Heck, even just being in the presence of me, my love, words of support and encouragement, you know. Sometimes that's all we need, is just for somebody to be there and listen, or just to be there and show the support and love. Like, actually show it and embody it, because that is what we're missing nowadays. The disconnect is real. So I thought it'd be a good time to relaunch my podcast at the beginning of the most powerful and transformative month of the year, which is the year of the dragon, and the year of number 8, which is signifying finding our inner power. That's what I'm doing currently. Lighting our inner flame by participating in something we find in our passions. Like, our passions drive us to that soul purpose, that drive us to do the things that we truly love to do. And we don't always have to be like the best at it. We just have to do what we love and let that embody out of us, like shine out, so that way we can like find each other, you know? So I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to go on a rant. I could tend to do that because I do like to talk. So right now we are approaching the Lionsgate portal, and we are already in that energy, and that's on the 8th. Chiron is in retrograde, which is the wounded healer. I definitely relate with that. That retrograde actually ends on my birthday, 12/29. We've been in that for a minute, and boy, have I felt it. So we also have Mercury in retrograde, Neptune, Pluto, and Saturn in retrograde. So there's a lot of powerful energy, you know. Right now, this energy is in play to support the death of the old ways of thinking, of doing, of believing, those limited beliefs that we've been conditioned to. And a rebirth, like a huge rebirth, like a phoenix coming out of the fire of ourselves in the most powerful way possible. So right now, opportunities, possibilities, and blessings are endless, and we are doing the inner work. If we're doing the inner work, we're going to see those optimal possibilities. those opportunities that are meant for us, that we've been looking for, the blessings of manifestations that we are trying to cultivate in our lives. So staying stuck will only cause pain and discomfort. So, things can be a little hard with changes, but change is the only constant in this world. And it's necessary for growth, for spiritual enlightenment, for awakening, for all of it, really, to ascend, which, well, that's a whole nother podcast. So we'll be touching up on that later. So anyway, now before I dive deep into my personal experience in trauma and enlightenment, I will touch up on what it is I actually do here. So I'm an oracle and tarot intuitive reader. I'm also an energetic healer. So I have a certification in holistic energy healing using symbols and alignments, working with the modern technologies. And those kind of work with the energetic frequencies in the quantum field. I have 44 cards of symbols. It's like a lot working with sacred geometry. Oops. But, it also works with opening up our mind, our hearts, our souls for all of the healing to just go across all timelines, dimensions, and realities within our aspects of being throughout all timelines. I don't know how much you may know already being here, but time doesn't necessarily exist in the spirit world. Okay, so our 2 minutes could be a decade in their time, or it could be a hot second. I mean, it's not relative to them. It is only to us here on Earth, because we created that, basically. Well, Mayans, all that going back, So I do that work. I do offer my email in the description box below. I'm still working on updating my website, but I will go ahead and add that in there. I'm on all platforms. I'm on Facebook mostly. I do a lot of posts there, mostly positive. And then I also do readings on this channel, so you can always look up readings. If you subscribe, if you like and subscribe for more content, you will get all of my stuff probably coming into your feed every now and then. And if the message reaches you and you resonate with it, then that's your message. Most of my readings are timeless, so it doesn't matter when you come across them. It's there for you. And I do offer guidance, so if you need spiritual guidance, you can definitely reach out to me. Energy healings, even if you have a question, or if you just a question, I'm not going to charge you. My prices are pretty reasonable as well, and if you want more information on that, you can always hit me up. But yeah, I'm here. I'm an open book, and I implore you to comment if you resonate with any of this. If you have something that sticks out to you want to share, or if you just want to put in some kind of emoji. Sorry, I was trying to think of the word. I was going to say icon. But if you want to put an emoji to get this out there, then please do, because I really want this to reach everyone. So here's my Cats Before People mug with my chamomile tea. I've got my clear crystal quartz to work with the Lemurians. Beautiful healing energy. I have my golden healer heart that I got from a dear friend. Love this. It's gonna glare, but it's beautiful. It's like tricolored basically on the other side. I have my tiny little tiger's eye that packs a big, powerful punch, lighting up that inner flame within me and keeping myself grounded with a beautiful green aventurine. And I've got my fluorite, which is what came with my sacred soul symbols from my teacher. She's also my healer. We heal as we get attuned to the alignments. But I did add a little magic within this podcast that's going to help to, if you're here because you have inner child trauma or trauma of abandonment, and you want to release that, I set up a little healing that all you have to do is say yes to receive it. So if you'd like to receive that, state yes to yourself, or you could do that in the comments, and you will receive that healing. as a gift from me to welcome you to my podcast. All right, so we'll dive in now because I don't know how long I'm going to go. There's so much to tell, but I feel like you should probably get to know me as we start this podcast. But I will say that my other podcasts, I'll continue in stories that come up as we go through the energy together. As a whole collective on this world, on this earth, we are going through a shift. We've already went through the shift. Most of us, I would say a good chunk of us, if not all, that are willing to move forward, to make that choice to grow and not sit there and be a victim and blame everyone else for the things that we put on our lives. Water is also essential, by the way, if you receive that healing. So, we're all going through a lot, with these retrogrades. We're really being faced with things that we don't normally want to face, that we need to heal. So it's good to face it. And that's why I offer that healing if you do relate with anything I'm going to share in this story, okay? So, I'm going to get off my soapbox. So, a little about me. I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. We spent a short amount of time there where my parents had separated. I was born, my dad was in Florida. He was a crane operator and he was mostly independent, but he can only go and work jobs, and we'd always end up moving for that and then going back to Louisiana so he could work for $12 an hour, back in the day. I was born in 81, if that gives you any idea. And that was when we moved to Belle Chase, Louisiana. It's a very, very, very small town. It's nothing like it is now. There was a lot of space there still. I go back and it's crazy. But we moved to Florida. My dad worked in the Bahamas. He'd come home on the weekends and I'd be with my mom. I know that I did a lot of protecting of my brother, but I think it's because I was the one getting the worst of it from my mom. Being there with her alone, and I don't know, I guess it was good that my brother was born at that time, because I don't remember my childhood very much, but I know that there's a reason. And there are some times that I do remember, like the time that I threw up and I had to clean it up because my mom couldn't clean it without puking or wanting to puke. I remember my dad coming home and shaving his mustache off because he wanted to get this job, and I was at the door with the freaking bat yelling. I couldn't recognize him, as my dad until he spoke. I don't know, just random things like that, crying my eyes out when my grandma and grandpa left, that's all I remember. So I know that it was bad. I know that my mom probably had, postpartum depression. I feel that in my soul, to be honest. And I know that she did the best with what she could with what she had. And I know that she didn't grow up in a very good life either, but I think we all know now in this lifetime that, or I shouldn't say in this lifetime, in this generation, in this time that we're in now, that it's not okay to carry your trauma through to your child. You're supposed to protect and morph your child into a person who believes in themselves, not a person who breaks them down all the time. I was actually listening to this video. So on Facebook, I'm trying to grow my following to get this stuff out there, like to get out to people and really show that you can find that inner light. You can make those fucking changes in your life that you really want to make, but you're just not sure how to start. It's hard. It is hard. And you'll find out through this story, but it's like, I forgot what I was saying. I tried not to smoke a little too much before, but I couldn't help myself. Anyway, so we're supposed to protect and build these kids up to like believe in themselves and to do great things. Well, that's just not what happened here. So my mom didn't work. We barely survived with my dad working his ass off. We moved around a lot. A lot. We lived in California twice. I technically lived there 3 to 4 times, twice with my mom, because she moved us back to Louisiana when my grandma passed, and that was the most traumatic thing in my life, I will say. That was the most traumatic thing in my life. My grandma is always around me. My fingers are trying to crack, so that's why I'm doing that. My grandma, my Mima, my mom's mom, I always felt like she was more like my mom, and I think I've created such a connection with her over the years of this spiritual awakening, which started May 2020, I would say, or around a little bit after that, actually. We'll get there. So I know I was treated very differently than my brother. My brother was like coddled, loved, and I when I say loved, I mean like he felt the love. She was showing the love to him. A lot of people looking inside from the outside knew that there was no good with my mom, like no good happening with her, with me, mostly, but also with my brother. You know, I won't say that his life was easy. Definitely not easy. He's had a lot of trauma too in his own way, and a lot of it has stemmed from my mom. Like, the one thing that we learn in spiritual work is we are always going to be faced with the same shit over and over in a different person to see how much we've learned. And if we haven't learned it, we're going to learn it again. And if you can't learn it, you're going to learn it again. And then when you finally hit that spot where you did learn, then you're like in the flow. You are tapped in, tuned in, turned on in the way with spirit, not like that. But yeah, it took me a long time to get there, but you know, it's crazy. So anyway, looking outside from in, you know, people knew. My best friend's mom, especially, I know she's always with us. She passed on after we moved back to California the last time. That was traumatic as well. I would say that she was like an aunt to us, you know. My best friend, I've known her my entire life, literally. She was in the hospital with her mom and her dad when I was born, in New Orleans, and we've just, our parents were close. My mom was close to them until she caused shit, like she always does, and pushed her out of her life, because my dad married her sister. That's another story. So a lot of people saw that. This carried on until my adult years. We'll go into what I remember the most. So I know that in Louisiana there was a lot of can throwing, you know, like at me. A lot of mental and emotional abuse. And you know, I don't get sad when I talk about this stuff. I've healed. I am still healing. We're always healing. It's a never-ending story. Yes, it's my pun. And you know, it's like, it helps me to keep going, to be honest, to share all this. So please don't feel bad for me. Anyway, so fast forward to California. We moved, we moved to California when my dad got married. He went to Georgia. I found out later, but you know, he had to give up custody after my mom lost in the battle. But the reason he had to give us up was because he had gotten divorced with the lady, my mom's friend, my mom's best friend's sister. And I try not to name names in here. But uh, sorry, lost my train of thought. That'll happen. But yeah, so when that all happened, he moved out to Georgia. We went with him for a minute. We moved to California. They went to the custody battle. She lost. Then he had to give up custody because when they got divorced, he had to move in with a stranger, and he didn't want us at our young age to live with a stranger, basically. And that's understandable. And I know it was painful for him to have to give that up, to give us up. So we ended up staying in California, which I mean we kind of wanted, but I didn't necessarily. I could have, if I could have had my way, I would have went back to Louisiana because that's where my friends were. And moving around, and living there for so long at that time, it hurt to like have to keep leaving. These are people that my parents grew up with, like their families and stuff. So it was just really hard. We knew everyone out there at that time. That's how small it was. But um, when well, I know that my grandma started not doing so well, but like we had to move back to Louisiana. So we went back to Louisiana and we lived in Gretna with my grandma, my Mima, and we were taking care of her. I don't know, like this was, I got divorced in 93, so this was probably about, yeah, this was 94, 95 year of school. Um, my my grandma, she seemed to be doing well from what I remember, but I don't know how much everyone knew. Obviously, by the time I realized all this and put it all together, I was no longer talking to my mom, so I don't necessarily want to ask that. I don't really talk to her family. I do keep in contact with an aunt, but I don't know. I just rather not keep all that open with people who are still in contact with my mom. So anyway, we lived with my grandma, and we loved living there. Her house was so haunted. By the way, I 2022 22 right there. So I used to talk to spirits as a kid. And my grandma's house was very haunted. I lived in Frank's old room. Frank was the ghost that was in my room. We lived in Louisiana, okay? Like you have to realize how hot and humid it gets down here. I'm in Mississippi now, but you can open that window in that bedroom and it would be dead hot outside in the middle of summer, and that room would never get cold or warmer than 50 degrees. But that was nice for me because I sweat in my sleep. My beepaw had died in my parents' room. I know that he was around. I think he messed with us too. And my grandma, she moved into the small room by herself, and me and my brother were in smaller rooms too. My brother's room was kind of like the storage room on top of the garage. They had a lot of stuff. So anyway, I remember, my friend Nicole, I'm not sharing anything about her besides her picking me up, so that's why I said her name. But she would come and, she'd meet me to go walk over. There's Loki. She'd walk me over to her house to hang out, and, she'd walk me back, and she wouldn't want to go in the house because it was haunted. And one time she walked me back, and that door was wide open. And nobody seemed to be in there, but we were little kids, and so we ran back and got her dad, and nothing was touched. I feel like sometimes spirits would follow me over to her house. I don't know. But anyway, I remember we were watching Candyman one night, and my brother was in his room, and that sewing machine went off, and he was in the corner, white as that wall. And it kept happening all night. But anyway, yeah, I used to be able to talk to spirits, interact with them. A lot of that got closed off when my grandma died, which is where we're at. So my grandma passed suddenly to me. I don't, again, I don't know how much everybody knew, but she had a full body of cancer. And I was sleeping in her room the night before she died. I think she died early morning. So we still went to school in Belle Chase, and my school was really far. So we were usually up pretty early, and I'd slept in my grandma's room that night. So in the middle of the night, we had the clapper. The clapper was, and everything would turn on, and everything would turn off, or whatever it was that you were trying to set or whatever. It was like the old time Alexa, but there was no talking to it. It was just the clap. But sometimes, everything would come on in the middle of the night, and my grandma would wake up and shut the fuck up, and go back to sleep. But I was in the room and only the TV turned on and Green Day's Good Riddance was playing, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And I was holding a rosary. I've never really considered myself religious. I am spiritual. I believe that God is an energy within all of us, everything. But I don't believe it's a man in the sky. I don't knock on anybody's beliefs. I think that everybody should have faith. Everybody needs faith to have that, like, trust in the universe or in something within themselves to grow and to learn and to be inspired. So I implore you to believe in whatever you believe. I don't knock any of it. Just don't push it in my face. That's the only thing. You're here because you decided to be here. So anyway, so I was holding a rosary. That happened. I went back to sleep, and then I woke up and I had this terrible pain in my stomach and throughout my entire body. And my mom walked in to, get me up to get ready. And I was like, Mom, like, I even looked like pale, and I was like, I'm not feeling good. I don't think I can go to school today. And we were all pretty depressed. My grandma being in the hospital and not doing well. She was like, all right. So she shut the door, and then the phone rang, and we found out she passed just now. And so I believe it was her saying goodbye, or, maybe I just felt her passing because I had that super close tie to her. And, that was the saddest thing that's ever happened to me. I remember I ran away to my friend Nicole's, the one I used to go hang out with. I'm still friends with her. I remember when we went to the funeral home for the funeral, I got left there. Almost twice, by the way. My birthday was forgotten. I've been through all that. My birthday is 12/29. It's so close to Christmas and everything, I guess, but it was forgotten a few times. I'm seeing storage low, tap to manage, so I'm hoping that this keeps going. Anyway, so after that, we finished the school year. We got kicked out of my grandma's house. We had threats from the family. I don't know the whole story of what my mom might have done to cause all that, but it was really scary. So after the school year was over, my mom moved us back to California, and I hated it. I was so pissed. And I kept in touch with my friends in Louisiana. I actually found a lot of them on Facebook. So yeah, when we got to California, my mom got sick. She had a hysterectomy because she had cervical cancer. It was a big old tumor in her cervix, and so she had everything removed. And when she woke up from her with being under anesthesia still, she saw a girl standing at the edge of her bed. And by the way, my best friend's mom had already passed right before this, so that was very sad time. And that was her best friend that she had no closure with. So the girl at the end of the bed, my mom's like to my stepdad, hey, tell her to go away. And he's like, who? And she's like, the girl at the end of the bed, tell her to go away. And he's like, okay, go away, and so she went away. My mom is pretty connected too, in a way. I don't know how connected, but she is. And she got home and quickly learned that her best friend had shot herself at the bar that she worked at with her sister there because she was getting beat by her husband. And I would say at that time I realized how lucky I was that I wasn't living down there anymore, around those people. But, this sent my mom into a Great Depression. And so things got worse after that. A lot of drinking. She was smoking a lot more. Um, I remember one time she got to the point where she realized how much she was smoking. She couldn't keep up with with the money and all that stuff, so she tried to quit, and she gave it to me. She's like, hide it until I absolutely need it. And I said, okay. They went out drinking, and then they came back, and she was ready to fucking beat down my door and do whatever it was necessary to find that shit. So I slid it under the door with her tray, and I was like, get the fuck away. So that was scary. Never did that again. A lot of drinking happened. A lot of drinking happened with me. She would have me invite our friends over, and we get drunk as fuck there, man. I remember one time they couldn't find me, and I was passed out on top of the hood of my car in the garage. I was halfway on the car, halfway off of it, but like, what if I would have fallen? Anyway, there was a lot of heavy drinking in my teen years, starting out there. Of course, I did it on my own too, but it was really bad. Then I don't know. High school was hard. I fucked off a lot, but I ended up having to really work my tail off to graduate, because she wasn't going to let me go anywhere else, even though my brother got to. That's neither here nor there. I'm very glad that I did, graduate. He did too, just a different school, easier school. He's still, so smart and so brilliant. But anyway, so after I graduated, as soon as I could, I got out of that house. And I did move in and out of that house, their house that they had moved into once I graduated, and got charged rent and all that. Lots of fights happened with my mom. A lot of fights happened with her and my stepdad. Mostly because he was having to back her up, and I don't know. I guess I never really was that close with my mom in a way, so I never really felt that close with him either. I did torture him quite a bit emotionally, I won't lie. But the one thing that happened a lot for me was after high school, there during that video I was talking about earlier, where I got lost in my sidetrack. It was talking about how narcissistic mothers, from as a child, they're supposed to be there to nurture us and give us that love and all this stuff, and protect us, keep us safe. And when they don't, we get that trauma of abandonment, and it sends us into fight or flight mode and protective mode all the time. And I know that that's what happened with me. And it created that disconnect between us as mother-daughter, as that mother-child bond. We never had that. And I don't think my stepdad ever realized that. A lot of times I try to talk to him, and he just never listened to what I had to say. I know the way she talks to people is so manipulative, and so, I can't think of the word, but she can really manipulate people. Let's just say that. Victim mentality all the time. All the time. I was always wrong. She was always right. Whenever I had an accomplishment, I don't know if she was ever proud. She could have been. I would never have known. When she tells you one thing, and then she says she never said that. That happened to me all the time. I thought I was crazy a lot. I lost a lot of friends because, she'd sold weed for this guy. We got tickets to the Rolling Stones. We were taking Valiums in the car and all this shit. and she sold weed for him, and like we would trim with her sometimes. Me and my brother, you know, and it's no big deal. It's just like that's the kind of environment I grew up in. And sorry, I just kicked the tripod. So, you know, I never had that, I never was taught how to budget. The only way I knew how to budget was to know how to afford things that I wanted, um, not needed, not saving for things that I needed, saving for, okay, and you know, in case shit happens, like a car breaks down or you need a tire or you need to change your brakes, you know, random shit like that. Um, I didn't know shit about sex until I started, and I was 20 when I lost my virginity because I was scared. I was so scared. I didn't want to get pregnant. I didn't want to get an STD. I was scared of other people seeing my body. You know, I always felt ashamed. And because I was never shown that love and affection and that unconditional love that you're supposed to feel from a parent, I never felt that really. I mean, I did with my dad a lot, but being away from him, it was different, you know, like we were with my mom and it was just not there. And so I did that with my friendships and my relationships. I tried to like hold on to it so tightly and conform to what they liked because I thought they would like me more. And I don't know, I would just do and say anything to get people to like me. I would lie. I There was a lot of things I did for my own gain, and I, you know, I had to forgive myself for that because that's who I was, and I'm not that person anymore. I'm a completely different person I am than I was now. I mean, than I was then. Anyway, words are hard. So over time, it got harder because she started pulling me suicide threats. When she was working with my brother, she would pit me and my brother against each other a lot. But we always knew better. We always knew the truth, you know, and I would always try to play devil's advocate, as I always do in everything I do and everything in life now, because I see things from a different perspective. I usually see it for what it is, and people don't, and they get mad because I don't conform to what they would want me to say. Don't ever expect that from me. I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm not going to say it mean. I'm just going to be truthful because you deserve that. So my mom called me one time, and I remember I was in the shower. I was in Utah. I had moved away. I totally was moving to get away from her, but also I really hated California. I wanted to live somewhere else. I wanted to be on my own. So my brother and her helped me move to Utah, and I lived there for a while. But even before that, she she called me and she was upset about something with my brother, a fight, and she was like, he won't pick up the phone. And I'm like, well, you can't call him when he's on work like that and make him upset. He's not gonna be able to perform at work the way he's supposed to. And she got pissed and she hung up on me. And then 10 minutes later, I start getting these text messages like, just remember, I love you and this isn't your fault, and you'll be fine without me, and all this stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, this is the first time I ever experienced this with anyone. And it was my mom. So I'm like, and I was always trying to prove my love to her. Always, always, always. It didn't matter how many times I fucking tried, man. I was always trying to prove my love to her no matter what. And I got torn down so many times because of it. But anyway, those suicide threats got worse. And then finally, I remember she did it to her best friend. Her best friend called me and she was like, you better get over there right now or I will kill you. I was like, all right. I mean, because I told her, I was like, look, she's been doing that to me lately. And she's like, fuck that, you better go over there. I was like, all right. Of course, I go over there and she's sitting there watching TV like, hey, what's up? So, it got worse, and I remember, I moved to Utah, and it kept happening, and I told my stepdad before I left, I said, look, this is what's been going on and I don't think it's okay. And you need to, I said, you know, I know it's empty threats, but there's something underlying there. And you need to watch out for her because it's your responsibility. And I'm going to come after you if anything happens to her. He said, okay. 3 months later, I get a call from my stepdad. Sonny, I'm sorry. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, we're in the psych ward. I'm like, what the fuck happened? So apparently she lost it. She scratched her face up. She has these acrylics, and I don't know. It was just like she fucking lost it, and they put her in a psych ward. And so things got a little better after that, I guess. She went to therapy, you know, and I went back to California a lot. I mean, it was so close and it was so cheap. I went every 3 months for a bit. I went every 6 months for a couple of years, and then I got down to once a year, mostly during Christmas because it was really important. It was like so close between my mom, my brother, and my nephew's birthday. So, you know, between November and January, all of our birthdays were around then. So that's when I usually went out. So the first time I went back was for my best friend's mom's, one of my best friend's mom's funerals. I just happened to have that trip planned. I just happened to have the next trip planned, and that was one of my best friend's funerals. And each time I came out, of course, it was a huge fight. You know, my mom's never on time or never remembers when I'm coming in. She always forgets. I don't know how, but she always forgot. Just like my birthday. Oh yeah, there was this one time, my 16th birthday. No, it was my 17th, I think. She thought it'd be a good idea to pretend to forget my birthday and then have a surprise party, which is what they did to make up and make it seem like they didn't forget my birthday the first time. Let me just tell you, there were tears flowing out of me so hard that night in front of everybody because I thought nobody remembered my birthday. It was traumatic. Anyway, so back into this, you know, these trips, I went out, you know, and I always visited. I kept close with my nephew. We still, you know, we haven't talked a lot lately, but we're still close. He's had a traumatic experience with his mom. It's pretty bad, but we're there for each other, and he knows that. So over time, I started going less and less. And I remember one time I went out for Christmas, and I went for 2 weeks, and I had planned this dinner because my stepdad was going to go to 2 nights of the Dead, and he was a Deadhead all the way. He followed the Grateful Dead around, you know, and this was the Dead with John Mayer. So he went 2 nights in a row with his friends. This was very much planned. She even told me this, and she pretended to forget when it was time for him to go. And guess who she decided not to talk to because of it? Me. My stepdad sat there for 2 hours extra to get her to talk to me to go to this dinner that I was paying for and made reservations for, the Peking Dragon in Dana Point Harbor. It was beautiful. It's a 4-course meal. Luckily, we still got to go, and you know, we did have fun, but my God, it was like I didn't even understand why it was me that always happened to. You know, and there was this feeling like she was jealous, you know, of me because I am single, I don't have any kids, and I move around, I travel, and I do what I want. I'm pretty much sure that that's what it is. And it's sad to say that, you know, it's not like I am not a boastful person. I do not have this like confidence like that, you know. I mean, I am confident myself. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't have that kind of confidence to be like, you know, too good for people or to believe that, you know, everybody's jealous of me. It's just her. I didn't, you know, it was almost like she wanted to keep me down low so somebody could be there with her. And I resisted it all the time. I always tried to make light of everything. 44. So anyway, I'll wrap this up soon. So suicide threats kept happening. Christmas 5 years ago, I go out there and I was doing a 2 week trip, but this time I was going to California for Christmas, and then I was heading to Florida for New Year's. We were going to Stick Figure for the New Year's show with the movement, and so before I was going out there, my mom mentioned, my dad was going, and I already knew that, obviously. And we were so excited for him to come for Christmas finally. It was like the first Christmas my dad was coming out. And we hadn't spent Christmas together since we moved to California, like before, when we lived with him. And so it had been years. And all of a sudden it was a problem. My dad had always gone over to my stepdad and my mom's, and we would cook and eat and drink and have fun and shoot the shit. Like it was nothing. Everybody got along. But then all of a sudden there's this issue with my dad coming out for Christmas, and nothing worked. No schedule we tried to do, nothing worked for my mom. And I noticed, so I got out there and she just kept on, and I'm just like, God damn, this is like consuming the entire trip. And, I spent most of the time with her. I hardly got to see my dad. And the day that we were supposed to that Jeremy, my brother and all of them were supposed to come over, she decided she wanted to go out and do some errands or whatever before she went over to my stepdad's family's house the next day, or that night. And so she was leaving, and I was sitting there with my stepdad, and I noticed that she was drinking a glass of wine, and then she had poured another and downed it. And I was like, and I always looked at my mom as a lightweight. We'll get to that part. So I looked at my stepdad. I'm like, does she normally drink like that before she goes and drives? And he's like, oh, she's fine. And I'm like, okay, I've seen her drink, and I've seen her get pretty fucked up pretty quick. Well, that night, I'm at my brother's house, and with my dad and, his my dad, my brother, and his family, and, my nephew and my niece, which I'm not sure how long she'll be my niece now, and sister-in-law, same thing. So we're all sitting there and watching a movie, and I start getting those text messages. It's not your fault. I always loved you. All this stuff. So I get on the phone, and she will not answer. So I call one of my best friends and tell her, like, please call her, try to see where she's at. I'll go meet her. I was going to try to get somebody to drive me, because I'd already had one of those stone IPAs that are this tall. So she gets on the phone, and, she talks to her, and then as soon as she asks where she's at, my mom hangs up. So she calls me, tells me, so I call my other best friend. And so she calls my mom on speakerphone with me on it, and she finally finds out where she's at. So she goes there. We told my stepdad where she's at after I called him and said, hey, can I talk to mom? And he's like, I don't know where she's at. And I was like, I know. Thank you for fucking letting me know. And thank you for being at home sitting on your ass. And so she apparently had asked for the keys and got in a car and took off from my stepdad's family's house. And then he had to get a ride home. So they go to meet where she's at. My best friend talks to her, gets her in the car, gets her home. She drives my stepdad back to the place, he gets in the car and goes home. My mom flips a lid, and she went to go grab a bottle, and my stepdad, she's like trying to open it. My stepdad slams her hand, and it drops on the floor, and it breaks. And she gets down on the ground, grabs a shit ton of pills, and throws them in her mouth. He looks at the bottle after he fucking calmed her down, and it was just Lipitor, thank God. So he's, trying to calm her down. Finally she gets so tired that she finally sits down, calms down, and then finally falls asleep. And he's sitting there all night. He has to work the next day. He's sitting there all night making sure she could breathe, wondering if he should have called an ambulance or what. So after that, the next day, I had to go sit with her while he went to work, the poor guy. He couldn't get out of it. He was, he's one of those people that had to be there. And so I sat there with my mom while she called detox. Same place that she went to the psych ward. And I hear her telling them that she had been taking Xanax for 19 years, 6 a day. Those, not the bars, but the orange ones, the circular ones. I think those are the blue ones. I can't remember. Anyway, 6 of them. I would take like a piece of one and pass out. And so when she said 19 years, I sat there and I thought about it, and I'm like, that is when she had her hysterectomy. And how was she taking 6 a day? Oh, yeah, she probably went to a couple of different doctors and got them. So I found out at that moment that she was not a lightweight. She was blacking out from fucking Xanax for 19 years. A whole lie. And she just, when she got off the phone, she looked at me and she just started bawling. And she's like, I just want to be asleep. I don't want to be awake anymore. I was just like, but what about us? Like, what about me and Jeremy? And she just couldn't say nothing. And at that moment, I was like, I don't think I'll be coming back here for a minute. And I was right. I got a lot of that trip out. Man, that Sick Fear trip was very, very amazing for me. It took me about 6 months to be able to talk about that situation, about my mom, about anything regarding her or my life with her without bawling my eyes out. Like, I mean, I would just start the words and just immediately start bawling, And so anyway, they had offered to help me move to Austin. I went to go move with this dude who shall remain nameless, but some people who know me know who it is. But when I moved there, my parents had brought their car. They had bought a flight back from Austin, and I bought the car from them. The drive was terrible. They were fighting. I got everything taken out on me. That relationship didn't work. I had cut my mom and my stepdad out once, and then ended up calling them on Christmas, and then opened that up again. But then it got closed up very quickly after my mom tormented me about what happened during the trip and taking up for my stepdad when she was clearly talking shit about him and how he treated me. But the minute I said something, and then I said something about her suicide attempt, and she told me to never talk about that again, like it didn't happen to me and everybody else. And I decided to cut it out, and I was like, all right, whatever. So I didn't tell them I was moving. I decided I was going to move to South Carolina during the breakup. The breakup happened. Things just didn't work out. I'm not going to go in that story. So I moved to South Carolina. I had went through and visited my uncle, sadly, for the last time, but it was a very nice trip. He told me how proud of me he was. And, he was the only one in the family that really kept tabs and kept in touch with me through Facebook, The only one, really. So I moved there. My mom found out, texted me, ended up having my brother on there, so he got to witness the whole thing. And she thought it was in North Carolina. I left it at that. And I was like, look, this is exactly why you need to go to therapy. And I have offered to do therapy with you. But since you can't seem to do that and you keep tearing me apart, I'm ending this conversation and our relationship now. So you will not be hearing from me or being able to contact me again. Take care. I hope you find happiness and love. And I blocked her on everything. Everything. So I know it was hard on my brother, and it still is, but he kind of limits his contact with her now too. after I disconnected from that relationship, from both, like, I mean, I blocked her and my ex. They're both Scorpios, by the way. Um, I started going through the dark night of the soul. And the dark night of the soul is very dark, painful period where you start to reflect on things like your shadows, the dark, deep, dense emotions inside, and why you feel that way, and where it leads from, and or stems from, and just all of it, everything. Which I'll have a podcast where I go over that in depth. Well, I started meditating. My friend Lee, he's amazing. Big shout out to him. He connected me with my friend who's a medium. She's my friend now. Like, she became my friend after that. She was doing my readings, and she had talked to my dad's mom, my best friend's mom, my uncle, and lately she's been connecting with my Mima. We couldn't connect her for a bit, but she's been around me every day with the cardinal. Always pay attention to the signs, man. I'll tell you, just really quick. Yesterday, I was outside on my patio, or my balcony, and I noticed eagle was flying around. And I couldn't figure out if it was a golden eagle or if it was a bald eagle. I'm pretty sure it was golden eagle. And then I remember I looked up and there was a crow. And it wasn't making any sound, it was just sitting there. And it was looking around, but then it like looked at me, and then it turned to its side where you could see like the whole, like the beak, head, down the body to the tail. And I was looking, I was like, is that a crow, And I've been watching birds. Birds are my messenger, so I love it. And I was like, oh, I wonder what that means, And so I was just like, Spirit, can you please let me know what that means? And again, it doesn't happen all always like right away. So today I came across a pick a card reading, and I don't normally do pick a card readings very much, but watch them myself. I don't do them myself. If anybody ever wants me to, you can let me know and I'll think about it. But one of the fucking cards to pick was the golden eagle. And then I saw crane and spider, which I see cranes around here a lot too. We're in Mississippi, they're going to be around. So at first I listened to the first message, and then like I went back and I was like, you know what, I really want to hear that third message. And they were both for me, and they were actually tied because the golden eagle ended up coming up. So there's your sign and there's the message. So pay attention to what you relate to and what signals you get, the synchronicities, and follow them. They are leading you on your path, and it's so easy. You just have to open up to it. And the reason I got to this was because meditation practice and talking to spirit, it was so hard to try to get there. I had that monkey brain where my thoughts were just, it was like the minute I woke up from sleeping, my brain was going full speed, always. Oh my God, this and that. Oh my God, oh, I'm so broke. Oh my God, and just fear and this spiral. And it was just like, and I would just drink and drink and drink and drink. Man, I would drink. It was terrible. That was my dark night of the soul. But the more I practiced every day, just 2 minutes here, 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here, and then work your way up. I do not normally meditate more than 30 minutes because I'm going to fall asleep. Most of the time, it's mostly up to 20, 25 minutes, but sometimes I'll go up to 30. You don't have to practice. You don't have to meditate that long. As long as you do it daily, it gets easier. It gets better. And then you get that connection. And so that's what happened to me. So after that, I had moved to Mississippi. My time in South Carolina was over. And so at that time, I moved out in the middle of the country, and I started looking into tarot, and I was relating with, like, resonating with these messages from certain people who I still watch. I have one that I watch monthly, I have one that I watch daily, and then I have one that I watch weekly. And those are the only ones I trust. If you sit there all day and watch these tarot messages, you're just going to leave confused. So try to stick with one or two. So anyway, I bought a tarot deck, and I started reading up on it. I started doing my own messages and reading from the book. And then, like, after I felt confident, I would start reading my own messages and then checking it with the book to make sure, because I'm very good at learning hands-on. And if I get something wrong, I will remember what was right. So after that, I just started doing it. And it's like you have to just put yourself out there and start. If you don't start, you're never going to know if you're good or not. Guess what? You're never failing, you're just learning. Failure is not a failure if you learn something from it. But nothing's ever a failure. We got to give ourselves grace when we try new things. Sure, it's uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. We've never been there before. But unless you keep trying, you're never going to accomplish anything. So look at me, look at where I'm at. Just from June 21st, we're on August 1st right now. June 21st, my Facebook following went from 300 to now 1.5K. And guess what? I believe it's because I believed in myself. I kept going for it. And then once that Capricorn full moon, the first one hit, and I was praying and manifesting this stuff and truly believing in myself and doing it. Like, first I had to sit there and journal stuff. Then I bought a business notebook and started putting down this format. And yeah, I did some healing there, manifesting these symbols. They're not only healing, they can see the intentions, they can clear and balance your chakras, activate your chakras, they can call in your soulmate, they can release, they can balance your brain chemistry and emotions and belief systems. They can release them and create positive ones. There's so much endless possibilities of what I can do with these symbols. And I'm still taking classes for the other alignments. So write down the goals, and basically like see these intentions of what I want to do. And I wrote down affirmations. I want, like, my emotions and beliefs. I want to call in joy, happiness, fulfillment, success, true love, unconditional love, and trust, confidence. These are things I'm trying to create within myself by doing this right now. And then I wrote affirmations. I am limitless. I am powerful. I am full of magic. I am a goddess. I am calling in my success and abundance. That's shit that goes out into the world, into the universe, the multi-universe, and the quantum field, and it rewires our brain to think consciously, positively, not fake positivity. Conditioning and rewiring our brains to think that way and to believe that way. Trust me, I have not always been there, and a lot of people who know me know that. And then I started a basic outline, and then came up with my actual outline, and then put it onto the computer to read to you and follow along. That's it. I took those little action steps, and the first time I did this, I just started talking. I had no format. I thought it'd be okay, and it just wasn't. I didn't feel it was good at all. I didn't feel the vibe at all, so here's where I'm at. And this is just the introduction podcast, so that way you can get to know who I am and where I came from, my past and trauma. And if please tell me if you resonate with any of this, because I would love to hear from you. Starting my business, I started about a year ago. I've been constantly learning. I've been listening to podcasts. Next Level Soul podcast is one I love. There's a lot of channelers, near-death experiencers, mediums, all types of people. There's Michael Singer's podcast. There's Sounds True podcast on YouTube that I love. I watch Billy Carson. I just love it. I'm looking into ancient mythology with Greek and Egyptians It's really connecting a lot of like this sacred geometry, astrology, like everything's just kind of coming together. And I actually have been talking with my friend who's working in astrology, and it's like we're kind of helping each other with that knowledge. You know, it's like it's crazy to think that I know things that other people don't, but it's because there's so much to learn. It's never ending. Never ending. So, you know, and then all of that led me to starting my business. And then I noticed that my body was different with food. I eat a lot cleaner now. I check labels to see if anything says contains contains bioengineering products, which you can see underneath the nutrition label, where it usually says like contains milk, wheat, blah blah blah. You can read it there. I had to cut out gluten because that's something that affects me now. I didn't think that was possible. And, you know, I'm healthy. I am stronger. I'm more confident in myself with the workouts I've been doing. I do yoga as well, which helps me to really tap in when I need to. I'm constantly drinking water. I quit drinking. My body started rejecting alcohol. I was constantly throwing up whenever I drink anything. And of course, beer has gluten, and I would drink beer, or I would drink those seltzers, which probably had, you know, something in it I couldn't drink. And now it's like I literally will drink tea, coffee, or water. That's it. And I'll drink like fake beer and stuff. I call it fake beer, but it's non-alcoholic. Every now and then, you know, I don't drink a lot of it, but anyway, I'm just like in a good place now. You know, like I'm healthy, I'm strong, I'm confident, I believe in myself. I never thought I would actually say that. I've always kind of, you know, I've loved myself, but only enough to get me to where I was before. Now when I started showing love to others and cutting out the toxic people, cutting out people in your life is not a bad thing. It opens up so much more. It makes room for everything that is meant for you. You know, we come into this realm with a soul contract that we agree to from the spirit, from the etheric realm. Etheric. That word's one of those words like roads. If you ever seen Black Sheep, or no, is it Black Sheep? Yeah, it's Black Sheep. So yeah, just I want to share that, you know, I've come a long way. It's not always been easy, but it's been worth it. And I implore you to research what you find that you relate to, what you resonate with. Keep searching for answers in what you want answers on, especially if you've grown up in a religious family and feel some kind of shame, regret, guilt, or some trauma from that. And look into some answers. If you ever want any recommendations on anything, if you want a reading, or if you want an energetic healing session, email me, ask questions. You know, I can help guide you to what you want to know about the healing. And then I'm also going to link my description on the healing symbols that I use, so that way you have a little bit more information on what it is that I work with when I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a card. I'm going to use the Animal Guides Tarot deck. So it's an Oracle Tarot deck with animals. So what do we need to know as a collective in the energy right now, August 1st, 2024? Oops. I will be doing a reading by Sunday. I'll probably complete it either tomorrow night or Saturday for the new moon reading. So what do we need to know? All right, well, we had two that jumped out. So in the back, we've got ego, Siamese cat. Ego is like, it's the death rebirth card in the tarot deck. Okay, so we've got 10 of fire, which is Saint Bernard, which is like the 10 of wands. Like the heavy burdens that we carry. a tiring journey that was hard but long. It was long and hard, but hard fought. I'm a 15-year-old boy inside. We've got the star, which is the Oriole, and that's about healing and hope. That water, it's showing different roads that we can take. And we've got this butterfly up there, and that's about transformation. So then we've got renewal, which is like the sun card in the tarot deck. And then we've got raccoon. I love raccoons. We have this little chat group where we talk about raccoons. And there, oh my gosh, there's a butterfly in that one too. So what I'm saying here is, throughout this long, hard fought battle that we've been through, we're coming to the end. The worst of it is over. Everything that is coming towards us that is a challenge or seen as a challenge or an obstacle in your eyes is just there to show you how far you've come. Don't get shaken up by it. Know that if you can put your ego aside and see how far you've come and be grateful for the lessons, that healing energy is going to transform you into this renewal energy, this rebirth of happiness, of abundance. And I'm going to read you what it says on the card. It says, it's time to get clarity about your life purpose and make changes so that you're on the path to the most divinely suited to you. Forgive what has been without judgment and fearlessly embrace what's to come. That's the energy we're in right now. It's so beautiful. So take some time, talk with spirit, God, whoever you believe, whatever you believe in, energy, yourself, your higher self, whatever it is, speak to it in meditation, or, just quiet the mind for a minute, get within your heart center by that will drop you into your heart, and just see how far you've come, see the road that you've traveled, and then open up to what's possible and know that you can do it. And so with that, my affirmation's perfect. So I'm going to close out with an affirmation that's very simple. I can do hard things. So thank you so much for stopping by. I love you all. Sending love and light to you. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and if you feel called, comment. And look for me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, or you can look at my other videos on YouTube. Love to all.